Hi there people, welcome to the second part of the beginner's guide. Today we're going to be talking about combat. In this video I'll be interrupting myself sometimes so I can talk about what's happening on the screen. So let's start. In the tutorial you learned about the classes and how they work. The generals hold the front line, the supports support, and the raids exploit holes in the enemy front line to reach the support and harass the enemy. Let's talk a bit about roles. In this match, I'm using the Xamel, a sniper support. In the beginning of the game, I'll be taking a position from which I can easily shoot at the enemies that approach from these sightlines. As you can see, if you look at the radar, no one captured point A. Capturing points is very important, and this can help your team a lot when they are respawning. But back to the roles. The generals are the front line. That means they are not only responsible for setting up the front line, but also for holding it and advancing or retreating. This may seem like an easy job, but it requires a bit of practice and quick decision making. It's important to know when to advance the front line and when to just hang back for a bit and wait for reinforcement. Ideally, you never want to be alone. This game is very group oriented, but that's not true for all units. There are some units that require or are better off when they are not together with the group. And those units are the sniper support and the stealth raid. These ones are different because the stealth raid, they don't appear on the radar and unless they are very close to the enemy. This is good because they can do surprise attacks, but this can also be a problem if you are near an ally because they won't see you, but they will see your ally. So there's no point in staying too close to your allies. The strength of the stealth raid comes from the fact that it can easily do ambushes. The sniper support, on the other hand, needs to be a bit further back from the team so it can have a better view of the enemy and is able to support multiple allies. Right here, I got a bit greedy with the enemy Mark IV because I know I can deal a lot of damage to it, and I didn't look too much on the radar. Once I'm shot, I look and I see that the enemy raid is coming for me. Now that he's here and my weapon is a stagger shell, I know that I have not much that I can do, so I just shoot the enemy and I'm taken down. This was not a very smart move, in my opinion, and I should be paying more attention to the overall battlefield, but, you know, big damage go burr. While waiting to respawn, we can take a look at the front line from above. As you can see, the three allies are forming a line, but this line is protecting A and D, which are not points that we have taken, and therefore allies cannot spawn from there. So it would be better if they did that line towards the base. I could spawn at E, but I decided to go for the base because as a sniper support, I don't want to be too close to the enemy. The allies are also going down pretty quickly, and I don't want to be too close so I'm mopped up together with them. I spawn at base so I can support some allies and try to get them to safety, but also because my unit has a skill that allows allies to respawn faster when I'm on the field. I use that to my advantage and cut down the respawn timers of the allies. It's very important to know the skills and weapons your MS has, so you can make decisions like this. As a beginner, it's not too important for you to know exactly what skills and what weapons, what every weapon does as you just started, but it's important to get to know better your suits and skills. As you can see here, I move in to help my ally, but this ends up not being a very good idea. The ally has very little health, and when I reach a point where I can support it, it's basically already dead. Right there, I was paying too much attention to the enemies, and I forgot that the Mark IV has stealth, so it managed to get to me and hit me. I will try to fight off the Mark IV, but as a support, you don't have many tools for self-defense. Here, as you can see, I have most of the allies on the field, and I should have retreated. And with the enemies converging on me, this was a very bad position. I should have used the invincibility time to go back and regroup. The support alone is a very easy target for the enemy. So now we go back to the respawn screen, and we can see that our allies are trying to move up and create a front line again. So I'll spawn at base and I'll support them. Be very careful with hitting your allies. Every time I do it, I feel bad for the allies, and I try my best not to do it, as it can be very disruptive, and you can also be chain staggered if you are hit by allies. So, back to the roles. The raid is responsible for taking down the support, and that should be its first priority. Then it can help the team while the support is not in the field. It's very important to go to the support, because the support can deal a lot of damage to your generals, and this can break your front line, so it's very important to keep the enemy support in check. The raid needs a lot of support from the generals, as it can't advance if the generals are not giving it enough support. Remember that unless you are a stealth raid, if you try to just rush the enemy, you'll probably get taken down. So be mindful of that, and don't advance without care. As for the support, there are usually two different types of general categories for supports: the sniper supports and the frontline supports. The sniper supports are just like this one suit I'm using. They are meant to provide long-range firepower, and they can usually stagger targets. This is very good because they can set up enemies for the allies that are near to combo them. The frontline support is a bit different. It goes together with the team and can usually support one or two allies it's closest to, but they usually have a lot of weaponry and they can deal a lot of damage. This is very good if the allies can protect it, because that extra damage can kill generals very easily. While the sniper support usually sets up the enemy for the allies to combo, the frontline support works a bit different. The allies will be setting up the enemies so that the frontline support can deal massive damage. It's important to say that the support is the type with the worst self-defense. That means a support can only be as good as the team allows it to be. So it's very important for the team to protect the support. Once you are in a position where you think you're going to die very quickly, Usually the best idea is to just deal as much damage as you can or inconvenience the enemy as much as you can, or try to emergency eject and go for a point or for a base bomb. Talking about base bombing, it relies a lot on timing. It's usually not a very good idea to go for it at the beginning of the match, though in some cases it can work, but it's very rare. When you plant the bomb, the enemy will get a notification. You get 50 points when you plant the bomb, but the enemy will get 150 points if they disarm the bomb. So it's in your best interest to defend it. For those who are trying to disarm the bomb, be mindful that the enemy pilot can be still there and hiding. So clear up the base before you go for disarming the bomb. Disarming the bomb takes 10 seconds, so it's also very important to plan because you can see the timer near your team's score. And if you see that this timer is like 15 seconds, for example, and you still need to reach the base to then disarm, you're probably not gonna make it. So in those cases, it's better to just go forward and support your allies instead of going back and trying to disarm the bomb. The second match is an ace match. So let's talk a bit about the game modes. The first match was a basic match. In basic matches, you get points by capturing beacons, killing enemies and their pilots, and destroying the base. In the ace match, you cannot destroy the base, but everything else is very similar. In the ace match, you get an ace for every team. The ace will be selected when the clock hits 3 minutes. The ace will be the person with the highest number of kills. Every time the ace kills an enemy, the amount of points is tripled. This can reduce the difference in score very dramatically. The idea of the ace match is to let the ace finish off the enemies, while the allies that are not the ace will take down the enemy ace. The enemy ace will give triple points to whoever kills it, even if that one is the ace. So there's no benefit for the ace to kill the other ace. If you are on low health and it's getting close to 3 minutes, it's better to just advance and get killed. You don't want to be with low health and facing the enemy ace. This will give them more points than just going for a suicide rush. So this is the time to shout your best, "Tenoheka, Banzai!" and advance in a suicidal charge. So basically, a good idea for the ace match is to protect your ace and kill the enemy ace as fast as possible. Ideally, the ace should be a general. That is because the support should worry about supporting the team, and the raid should be worrying about taking down the enemy support. So ideally, the generals should be the ace, but that can vary from team to team. Just be mindful to protect your ace, because if it's a support, for example, it already has bad self-defense. So if you let it alone, it can be a big problem. An important thing that you should keep in mind is to know when you are going to die. This is important because sometimes I see a lot of people repairing on bad moments. So it's important to know when to just die or when you can go back to base and repair. While you repair, you're very vulnerable, so you should keep that in mind. Situation awareness is very important in this game because, as I said, the team component is very prevalent in this game. So you need to know where your allies are and play accordingly. It's usually not a very good idea to let your allies alone. It's also important to note that while you're repairing, your team has one less person, so you should be very careful how much you repair. If you extend the time of your repair too much, your team will be one person down in combat, and that can make a difference. Remember to communicate with your allies. If you think you're going to need help very soon, it's better to just send the message before than to wait until you are in a dangerous situation and then send the message. This can help your allies to plan when they will help you. This game has a very interesting way to think. You can think of it sometimes as a resource allocation game. So if you see allies, well, two allies going for a single enemy, it's just better to move to other allies or support other allies. Usually 2 people is enough to take care of one comfortably, so you should be reinforcing your allies in other points. This resource allocation also applies to your weapons. Paying attention to how much ammo you have, when to reload, when to use certain weapons can make a lot of difference in combat. So that's it. I hope it helped you understand a bit more on combat, and I hope you enjoyed the matches. I'll be breaking these matches down in another video so you can understand what I was thinking and an analysis of the match. So stay tuned for that. As always, thank you for your views and your support. If you have any tips, leave them in the comments. Also, if you have any feedback to give me about the videos, I would be very glad to hear them, because this is the second video I make.